And let's talk about Sean's favourite guy, and now that is Richarlison. Obviously, with the front line not ticking the last couple of games, Sonny all season, Kulusevski has had poor games last couple of games. Is it now time for Richarlison to really get the nod and get a couple of games and really show what he's about? He brought him in for 60 million in the summer, hasn't really played in his favourite position all season. We've shoved him out on the right, given him the Bergwijn treatment apart from that. Let's start off with you, Sean, then. I mean, is it time for Richarlison?
Yeah, it definitely is time to give him a chance. I don't think, his first 6 months or whatever it's been now has been very disrupted by injuries, by lack of opportunities, by being played left and right and centre. You know how I feel about him generally. I don't particularly rate him as a player. Don't think it was money well spent. But I think that I believe in meritocracy, and I think that he's long overdue a chance. I think right now you could make the argument that both Decky and Son are struggling for form and fitness. Sonny has been the case for the entire season. I'd say absent that 30 minutes. Decky hasn't really recovered, I don't think, or he's not quite sort of come back from that injury or that recurrence of injury. And when I saw him play in the Leicester game and in the Milan game, what became apparent to me was that I don't think he had the faith or the confidence to drop into like 100% sprints. I felt like he was always kind of in second or third gear. And I think that is maybe like a symptom of someone who, is worried about whether they can trust their hamstring anymore. So yeah, I still have more faith probably in Decky putting in a shift right now than I do Sonny. And I do think that Richarlison needs to come in and be given his chance and time to shine. How you put him in, though, what you do with the formation to give him his best opportunity to make that work. Look, I'm not a tactics specialist. I'm not someone that, is going to profess to know. So I'll give you my opinion, but it's not based on anything rather than, just from what I see. I don't know. I think you can't really expect anyone to change to go to a back four, like a 4-2-3-1, where you could play Richarlison in the 9, maybe drop Kane to the 10. So if you're going to keep with the 3-4-3, and it's got to be a centre, left or right, you either give Harry Kane a breather, which I don't think you can afford to do, but at some point, asking him to play 90 minutes twice a week, it's going to catch up. It's going to catch up with him. He hasn't really had a long-term injury since the Champions League season. So I think that maybe you could find a game, maybe the Sheffield United game in the FA Cup, although that's a big risk because that's our best chance of silverware. But maybe you try Richarlison there in the 9, or you play him on the right or the left again. But I still don't think you're going to ever really be able to judge Richarlison in the left or the right. Yeah. Because that's not where he's at his best. So, it's definitely time to give him a go. How you fit him in, I don't know what the answer is really. I don't think you can judge him when he's being played out of position.
Isn't it just a simple case? Isn't it just a simple case of dropping Son to the bench and putting Richarlison on the left? I mean, we still haven't seen him there like on a consistent basis. Maybe 10 minutes at the end of games here and there. I mean, the main time that he was starting, it's always been on the right hand side. And out of the 3 positions, that's his weakest one out of the 3. So I mean, surely with the way Sonny's playing all season, it's not even a recent thing. It's all season, literally. All season, surely you have to drop Sonny now and put Richarlison in on that left.
Yeah, and look, that's obviously that's the most logical if you're going to keep to the same system and also continue to play Harry Kane. But at the same time, though, when we have seen him play on the left and the right, I think his first thought is to do something similar to what I'm seeing of Sonny recently. Sonny gets the ball and he always wants to dribble it. He thinks he's got an hour on the ball and he eventually gets his pocket picked. And I think that what I've seen of Richarlison when he plays on the width, either the left or the right, every time he gets the ball, his first thought is to do something tricky, like try and nutmeg the player that's approaching or try and do a back heel or something like that. And it annoys me. Like it's an overcomplication of a simple process that I think is in part forced because he doesn't have the space to do one thing or the other, depending on which side he's on, because the touchline's only a yard away. So for me, if everything's going to stay the same, you drop him for Sonny. Oh, sorry, you drop Sonny for him. But I still don't think you're going to be able to judge him as a player playing on the left-hand side. I think he's a guy who should be up front like he is for Brazil. And that's, I think, the only time if you give him a run of games in that central position, see if he can score a couple of goals and then we can go from there. But I don't think that you're going to be able to get a full picture of what he can do for Tottenham if he's always being played in a wide position.
Yeah.
Do you think, just sorry, Brains, just before we move to you, do you think that what you're talking about with Richarlison, that he's always trying to do something special, take it through someone's legs without too much success, do you think that's because maybe he's only got such a short amount of time when he comes on and he's just trying to over-impress and trying a bit too hard, where maybe if he was to start from the game and have a few 90-minute periods in a row, we might see the true value of Richarlison?
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. I mean, who knows? I don't, I haven't seen enough of him. I know that at Everton he was doing similar things. For Brazil, he does things a little bit differently. There's other flair players around him that do those sorts of tricks before he does. But for me, look, it's just frustrating. I get frustrated with the overcomplication of things that he does and what Sonny does. The reason I love Decky so much is because he keeps it simple. He tries to beat the man and uses strength in the right directions. I think flair players that don't necessarily have brilliant flair ability that continue to do that sort of stuff, it winds me up. The only thing I was about to say, though, before I hand over, do you think that there's any logic to maybe going to, like, could you play Sonny and if you were to play Richarlison, could you make the tactical adjustment and play it more of like the three up front, more as like a 1 and a 2? So you have Richarlison and Kane playing as more as sort of both number 9s, and then you have someone like Decky step back in with a bit more freedom to move left or move right, but actually stay more central, so that we can get a bit more sort of direct the balls into the front line. Because I feel like I said, the last couple of games I've seen Harry Kane get bullied by Harry Suter, get bullied by that Fage, get bullied by Simon Kjaer, and without the protection from the referee giving them the free kicks that he usually gets, Harry Kane sometimes can break the ball down by having that poor control, whereas Richarlison might be able to also be a second option if the ball's getting pinged forward from Fraser Foster or Romero or Dyer.
Yeah, I would like to see us move to maybe a 3-4-1-2, with Højbjerg, Sarr in the middle, Kulu just behind Kane and Richarlison, and to see how we can go from there. But Brains, what are you thinking about Richarlison? Surely it's time to start him now, right?
So, no, I don't think so. Like, yes. So for me, like, he should have started against Milan, but as a centre forward, because Kane, there's clearly a plan of how to play Kane. And in a game like that, where we're not really going to go out to win this game, so then rest Harry Kane and then bring him on with like 20 minutes to go, and then it's like such an adjustment for them, because they would have trained for Kane, and then you've got Richarlison who moves completely different to Kane, so they would have been a little bit off feet, So it's like then Kane comes on, and then they're now adjusted to Richarlison. Now Kane's come on, and he's probably going to pick up some space, and it's a different thing. The thing when a player, just being mad honest, and I know this because I do it. It happens to any attacker. When you quickly try to flick the ball away, or when you try to do like a smart ass flick, it's got nothing to do with anything else other than the fact that you're lacking confidence. It's like you're trying to make up for something. Any player who's in confidence believes in their touch, and they want to take the ball on the turn. Like when you do a little silly flick, you just don't have confidence. You're trying to make something happen, but it's like a 50-50 that it could happen. You don't really have the confidence. So I don't think he works. For me, he doesn't work as a left-sided winger. I just don't see him working there at all. You can't switch him with Son, because Son has a very different role in this team. There's the reason why Son keeps starting every game, and Conte even said it. Son plays a lot of the time as a defensive midfielder. Like he drops in and he doubles up on the left side. And he does that when we play the 5-4-1. Son is pivotal in that 5-4-1. And I think Conte, like, really, he gets really stubborn with his defensive positions, and sometimes it's such a clear lack of confidence in the manager that we have to play 5-4-1 when we defend. So then Sonny is handcuffed to play deep, and then Sonny's told pick up the ball deep and do what your famous runs that cut through teams. So then Sonny does that, but then he holds it too much and he loses the ball. So Sonny's role either has to change or adapt, or, like if you're going to have Richarlison play, then the way we attack changes, because Richarlison drifts inwards. He doesn't pull out and then go round. So there's an annoyance for me there in whose role is what. I think you have to change things. You don't have time now to change Like, unless they're drilling, I don't see that. I'm seeing all of our attackers' feet, all our touches are just going to shit. They're clearly not drilling, like turning and taking touches under pressure. They're not doing those drills. So I don't think if they're not doing those drills, which should be standard drills every session, that they clearly don't have time to now do a structural rechange. Where look, now Richie is the point of reference he keeps talking about. Right now, Richie is the point of reference. Now we're going to build all our attacks around Richie, and that's going to be a very different thing. And that might work, but you need time to get that system going. And then you've also got the fact of Kane's role. He has the point of reference, but Kane comes deep and he can put balls over. He can do things that Richie could never do. So, and we're a team, Spurs are a team that rely on Kane's creativity, not just Kane's striking. So I would say, Richie is a centre forward. Let's start him as centre forward. Changes the entire way we attack again, because the way the positions Kane takes up, sometimes it's a 9, sometimes it's a 10, sometimes it's deeper. It's kind of a meridian of problems when you're building a team. All of your moves around Harry Kane means that you can never take him out. It's a huge problem.
Yeah,
You're right.
It is a massive problem.
You're
absolutely spot on. To be fair, hit the nail on the head there. But Sim, what are you thinking about the Richarlison situation?
Yeah, I think I slightly disagree with both Brains and Sean when they say get out of here. I slightly disagree. I think he can play on the left. I think that when he was at Everton, some of his best games were out on the left-hand side. Obviously, he did. In fact, he started when he first came to Everton. He was a left winger predominantly, and then I think it was only a big injury to Calvert-Lewin, and then he got a big run as a centre forward down to necessity, and actually did so well in that role that he became Brazil's #1 striker. And now I do think he's a good striker. I think he's one of those strikers who's a bit of a nuisance. He'll be pressing you all the time. He'll pick your pocket. He's quite good in the air. He's got decent finishing ability. But what I don't like about Richarlison is I think his first touch is extremely frustrating at times. I think sometimes it's good, but a lot of the time he gets fired into him and he just can't make it stick at all. And I think I wouldn't say his decision making is bad. What is bad is his weight of pass. It's absolutely dreadful. When he's asked to do a through ball or to put it to Ori, when he's got a good opportunity to lay it in with someone, a lot of the time it's found wanting, and his passes are not very good. I would try him on the left hand side in place of Sonny, as much as I love Son. I think there's a bit of an elephant in the room, I feel like, with Sonny when it comes to what Brains was saying, and getting him to track back all the time and stuff like that. Now, Son, he's always been a team player. Son will always give his all for the team. But the fact of the matter is, he'll be 31 in the summer, I believe, or he's 30 now. He'll be 31 soon. Yeah. When you're an attacker of Son's elite ability, but when you rely a lot, let's be honest, Son, as much as he's an elite finisher, don't get me wrong, he's probably one of the best finishers in Europe, but he still relies, because of his slender figure, he definitely relies a lot on his pace. He definitely relies a lot on being quick. I'm not saying he's lost his pace. I still think he's rapid, but what he has lost, I think, in my opinion, is that ability to use that pace consistently throughout the 90 minutes, like have that stamina to he used to be able to just press relentlessly. Son, he can't do that anymore. He's now 31, and when you see players maybe not Sonny's profile, but like elite attackers who rely on pace get into their later years, for example, Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar, Robben, these kind of players. What usually happens is, as they get to 30, you have to start adjusting your game. You have to start using your pace in a smart way. Now, the problem that we have is that because of the way we play, and I guess you can put the blame on Conte or whatever, but when you have Son tracking back so often, I feel like a lot of the time, like when he doesn't have the energy when he gets in those attacking positions as much as he did, and when a lot of the time either he's running from deep where you have to use a lot of energy, or he's spending so much time tracking back and then getting forward that when he gets in those forward positions, he's very easily getting pickpocketed because there's a lot of players around him. He doesn't have the energy like he used to burst into those spaces. He can still do it, but he can't do it as consistently as he used to. Now I think it's time we start adjusting his game so that he
100%.
isn't maybe tracking back as much, and when he is in those forward positions, we're making the most of him, or we do like Sean is saying, maybe use him from the bench a bit more. So when he does come on, I think you think about that Leicester game, like in all three of those positions, he was like the furthest player forward, and he was the one waiting for the ball, and then he got to use his abilities with a bit more time and space, and with a bit more energy because he just come on as a sub. Now I think Richarlison, what would be good is we had Richarlison on the left because he's such a relentless, because he uses his physicality so relentlessly. I do think we'll lose a bit of quality on the ball, no doubt about it. But what he will do is he will tire the other team out. Because he will so relentlessly pressure them, he won't give them a minute on the ball. He will do the tracking back as well because he's that kind of player as well. He's a team player, and when Sonny comes off the bench, he'll have that energy to make the impact, which he isn't doing right now.
Against tiring teams as well.
Against
right?
tiring, exactly. Which Richarlison will bring. Where he's a decent dribbler, so and I think most importantly he's a really good presser. He'll bring that pressing energy, which at the moment, as much as Son tries, he just doesn't have it in him to have that pressing energy like he used to. I think that's a big element as well. So I think for me, you start Richarlison on the left hand side. You get him to wear the other team out, and then you can bring Son on as a weapon later in the game. And I think that Conte's just being too stubborn at the moment when it comes to Sonny. Either you adjust his game, or you take him out of the team and give Richarlison a chance. Right now, he's getting Sonny to do the same thing every game, and at the moment, it's not what we know. It's not working. We know it's not working.
How many games can we persist with this with the same results every single game?
Because I think he's still trying to recapture what he found last season, and what he found last season was amazing. But right now, I don't know whether it be Sonny aging another year, or it be he's adjusting Kane tactics. So Kane is actually a lot of the time a bit further forward, which means Son is dropping into deep positions where he's less comfortable, or whether it be Sonny doing even more I feel like Son's doing probably more defensive work than he was doing last season. I feel like Sonny at times was our furthest player forward last season.
That's because you've got Perisic behind him, right?
Yeah,
you've got Perisic behind him that's got the defensive frailty, so he needs support. Perisic is also, I believe, and I've been saying it since the start of the season, he enroads the space. When Ben Davies is on the left-hand side and we have the ball, sometimes he makes these like off-the-ball runs into the left-hand side of the penalty area, which again creates that space, and the other teams, move into that direction to occupy. I think that also you've got the argument, Ben, you mentioned, why does Richarlison do that one-touch trickery stuff when he comes on? Is it because he's only got 10 minutes to prove himself? I think that Sonny has become like exponentially more selfish on the ball than he's ever been in years gone by. And I think that is because he is desperate. He's so desperate to get his goal scoring numbers up, because he wants to participate in the season alongside Harry Kane. And I get it. But unfortunately, sometimes when you're that desperate and you're focused on your own insecurities and the lack of confidence, then you start making bad decisions because you want desperately to make up for whatever's happening with your season. So I think there's about 15 different variables that are affecting Sonny at the moment. And I agree with you, Sim, agree with all of you, that for me, you've got options. You either bench him and bring him off as an impact, or you adapt his game. But sticking to what we're doing right now, it's flogging a dead horse, right? It's a definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome.
I agree with all of you except for Butler, Sim, and Ben. No, I think we are misusing Sonny. That for me, it's like when you've got a player of his ability that picks up the ball and cuts in and hits that corner, we just don't use him like that this season. It's like he's having to start so much deeper, because a lot of games, even in games that we should not be sitting deep and letting the opposing team dominate us, we sit deep, and then he has to take up a deeper starting position. So think about the yardage that Sonny is constantly having to make up to get on the ball in the places. It's insane. It's like, this is an aging player, and you're just using him wrong.
Yeah, so I think if you had a 25-year-old Sonny, he could probably do it. But I think at 30, you're just asking too much.
Yeah, and I think that's where the stubbornness is. And then I can also understand from Conte's, like Conte said this a couple of weeks ago, is like, people keep saying about Sonny, it's like, you don't understand the role Sonny has. He plays a defensive role as well. And it's like, yeah, but he shouldn't. Like, why is he? Like, seasons ago, we used to see Sonny at the back post on corners making mistakes. We hated when he was there. You know, it's like, other than that run against Burnley where he won the Puskas Award, like we don't really like seeing him too deep. You know, like we want him halfway line and above. Whenever he's in that role where Kane drops deep and puts him in over the top, you can just see that this is a striker. This guy wants to score goals. Like, so I reckon if you asked Sonny, like, honestly, like, obviously politically he would say the other way, but if you said honestly, would you like a more attacking manager to come in at this club? I think Sonny would jump at it, because under Conte this season, knowing, and obviously Conte has his reasons, this defense ties everyone's hands back. You know, it ties everyone back, because you're covering for a weak side, you're covering for a wing back that's not really that great. You know, you're covering for a centre back. Everything has to start deeper then. And that's the crazy thing. So then our tactic is start deep, play out the back, bring teams on us, which is great, because then long ball over the top puts your players in, and then you don't have players at the back that can play
only if the other team gets sucked into that trap, though. How many times have we seen like our team just passing the ball around the back, one touch, one pass, trying to bring the other teams on, and the other teams are like, not going to do that, not doing that, not going to get sucked in.
Yeah, so it is a mismatch. And so then that kind of always leads back to the idea of, like, you know, we can all see that. We can all see that Sonny's been misused. He's been overused. He's been running at the ground. Not only misused, but overused. Like in the positions he's having to run so much more. He's getting older, and yet no one's doing anything about that. For me, that is bad management. Obviously, there's a reason, but then I think you have to adapt your tactics. Then you have to move into like a different way of playing. You know, or you have to, when it comes to windows, you have to be prioritizing centre backs or, you know, stronger players in those positions. But I think the bigger question is, like, well, not the bigger question, but I also think it's a question that should Danjuma be starting? Because Decky's not doing that great and Son's not doing that great. Every time Danjuma comes on, he looks like he wants to do shit. He looks like he wants to get going. So he feels a bit like that he's an animal in a cage, you know, waiting for it. So I think he should be up there. Whatever happens, even if they don't start, they should be coming on sooner. They shouldn't be waiting.
Much sooner.
That's definitely true.
It drives me nuts that. I'm like sitting there, it's like, come on, you can see players are burned out 70th minute.
Get them on.
No?
Yeah, I know. I've been calling it for early. I mean, even at half time in the Leicester game, why did they not make a change? Earlier on in the Milan game, why did you not make a change? And when you're looking at Son's goal returns and goal actions this season, 4 goals, 3 assists. I mean, Højbjerg's got 4 goals, 3 assists. Bentancur's got 5 goals, 2 assists. I mean, it's absolutely criminal that he's around that level for goal contributions this season.